Today we're going to be talking about the 750S Spider and why it might just be the best overall supercar ever made. Before we get on the road, I just want to walk you through this 750 spec. So we actually got to travel to England, to Woking, England, to spec this car at the MTC, the McLaren Technology Center. And to commemorate that, we went with XP Green, which is on the experimental prototype F1 that set the top speed record back in the 90s. So it's XP Green outside, saddle tan inside, with bronze brake calipers and black wheels. Let me know what you guys think of the spec. If you guys have seen the videos on the 720, let me know which one you guys like more. This one doesn't have the carbon of the 720, so there's no carbon here, but there's carbon on the louvers. Before we do anything, this is the 750 Spider, so you guys can hear me better. Let's put the roof on. Watch how quick and quiet this is. I believe it's 8 seconds on the 750. Roof's on, buttresses go down, windows up, and we're good. Let's get on the road. Let's start with the title. Why do I think this could be the greatest supercar of all time? So the 720, I think a lot of people, especially McLaren owners, call the GOAT of supercars. It's so comfortable, it's so fast, it destroyed everything for its time and everything that came out after it until the 296 came out, which is now 2022 was the first model year, and in England the 720 was made in 2017. I test drove a 720 for the first time in, I believe, May of 2017. That's when we ordered our Spider, which came in 2020, well, June of 2019, but for a 2020 model year. So the 720, best steering in the game, only car left with hydraulic steering. Insane power, just, especially in roll races, just demolishes everything. Ferrari, Lamborghini, Ford GT, anything you want to put out there. And it's just so much more comfortable than any other supercar, thanks to its insanely complex suspension. I'm sure you guys know the gist, no roll bars, everything controlled by computers, all four corners are separate. It really is amazing, and you can see how calm this car is right now. But thanks to the carbon fiber chassis, even in the 2020s, which we're talking now, this car is 3,100 pounds. So you throw it into a corner, and there is no weight transfer, just everything you want the car to do, everything, it's like telekinesis. The car just does what you're thinking. You don't get that in any other car, especially a Corvette C8 platform, or an F8, or a 296. Let's just slow down for this sand. This happens when it rains here. To put this into perspective, my Lotus Evora GT is way smaller than this car. It's about 10 inches shorter. Actually, I think the C8's 10 inches longer, so it's about 8 inches shorter than this. And it weighs more than this. And this is a convertible, electric hardtop, with a twin-turbo V8, not a Toyota little 3.5-liter V6. And this weighs the same, thanks to that insane carbon fiber monocoque. These cars are just so light, and you feel that lightweight, especially with the ultra-direct hydraulic steering. And you just don't get that in a modern car. Ferrari claims some of their cars weigh about the same. The piece that I think is supposed to be like 3,200 pounds dry, if you weigh it, it's like 3,500 pounds, which is just, that 400 pounds is a huge difference in the feel of the car. And only McLaren can get these kind of weights out of cars. Some Porsche GT products, like the ST, they've gotten them really light. I think the ST is about 3,100 pounds wet. That 3,100 pounds, though, is with 500 horsepower. 500 horsepower versus 710, which is under measured, as the 720 is really making about 690 wheel, which is way more than 710 at the crank. So the 720, in my opinion, has always been the best supercar. While we're stuck behind this Pathfinder, let me talk about what the difference is between the 750 and the 720. So the 750 got the 765 gearing, so ultra short gearing. We're doing 39 miles an hour, we're in 5th gear at 2,000 RPM. That's why this car will be faster than the 720 from a dig, but in a roll it will probably lose, even with the extra power and less weight. That lower gearing, though, makes the car much smoother in traffic. This is a better daily, which ironically we put carbon bucket P1 seats on this car, which does hurt the daily ability, but it's still being daily quite a bit during the summer between me and my dad, mostly my dad to work, or me for drives like we're going on today. Car needs to be washed. Thought I'd take it out for a drive and get a review done before we wash it. That shorter gearing also greatly reduces lag. The second you touch the pedal, it almost feels like an NA engine. From what I've heard from different people that own 765s and they've driven this has less turbo lag than 765. I don't know what they did. They had a few more years to develop it, but this car is supposed to make a little less power. From what I've heard, it's possible this is actually making the same power as the 765, and they just didn't want to rate it the same to keep 765 owners happy. This car is also a lot louder than a 720, so that's third, second. That's 5,500 RPM. And a 720 you would not be hearing that much. But the 720 does have more turbo noise, which I think is pretty cool. It honestly sounds like an airplane taking off between the aero noise and all the turbos. although this is a much better Grand Tour than a 765, the suspension is actually, I believe, either 10 or 15% stiffer than the 720. I don't really notice that because our 720 at this very moment needs new accumulators, so those are wear items. They're almost like having another set of tires is how I look at it. They're all four corners, they are for the suspension, they modulate the suspension, so those don't have the right amount of air in them. They need to be replaced, so the 720 is riding a little rough, so this feels like it's riding better, but I do feel that the Elva, which is softer than both of them, ironically, actually rides much better than this. So I know the 720 is somewhere in between there, but these still ride better than any other sports car you're going to have. Ferrari's bumpy road mode's pretty good, but standard for standard mode, I'd say this is definitely the best riding supercar in the world, even better than a C8 or C8 Z06 with that mag ride, which ironically is the same mag ride that Ferrari licenses from GM for the supercars, like since the 458. Build quality is also something McLaren gets a really bad rap for. We've had 3 McLarens now between this, the 720 and the Elva. We've had really no build quality concerns. The windshield cracked on the 720, which was covered by warranty, but to be completely honest, I think that might have been our fault. My dad was driving behind an F12 CDF, and he went behind him, and I heard a bunch of rocks. The windshield didn't crack then, but the next day we saw a crack. There were no chips, so it could have been something else, but I have a feeling it was that. But again, a windshield coming under warranty, not a big deal. And that's between 3 cars in 5 years. That's the only quality issue we've had. I will say though, I'm sure you guys really don't hear any rattles right now, no shaking. Carbon fiber tubs are very rattly. Our Carrera GT rattled like crazy. You felt like you were in a Le Mans car, which it was supposed to be, ironically, the 980 chassis. But the 720 has a little bit of that. If you had a stop sign, you really feel the idle engine. I kind of like that, it's a little more raw. This car, you would have no idea you're in a carbon tub. It's definitely the quietest carbon tub car I've ever been in. It's honestly like a luxury car. So I will say, it's not a quality issue with the 720, but the quality is much better on this. They've stepped up their game, and this car is just insane. The other big difference between this and the 720, the steering rack is much faster. If you guys see this, this is ridiculous. This is a go-kart. I mean, that's... the Lotus is half that fast, and the Lotus is a Lotus. It's really unbelievable. I don't really like hyperactive racks, I've always said. The 458's one car that just I think is way too fast. This has very similar steering ratio to that. So it's that hyper fast that I don't normally like. But the McLaren's steering is so much more weighted than the Ferrari's. I honestly enjoy it. I don't know if I like this more than the 720. It kind of depends on the road you're on. We're taking this to the track in September, so I'll let you guys know more then. But I think on lower speed turns, I prefer the 720, which the back road we're gonna go to now, it just feels a little more like I can just throw it into the corner. This still sticks to the road like glue, but I don't know, I just have a little more confidence in the 720, and that's on 10,000 mile old tires that need to be replaced that just did a track day last September. But I can tell the high speed, there are turns I can tell you I'm doing, I think about 52 in the 720, I think I'm doing 55 in this. And it's just, there's a different level of confidence at different speeds thanks to the different steering ratio. This car, there's something about this chassis, it just gives you so much more confidence than I have in any other car. I had never been to the track before. I took the 720 to the track. I'm doing 150 miles an hour on Lime Rock, which is a pretty tight circuit. I looked it up, and 911 GT3 race cars, the actual race cars, are doing about 131 at the end of the straight. Obviously, straight line speed isn't everything on a track, but the confidence the car gives you, I overbraked myself a little bit into turn 1, but I knew the car would live with it. It's just something, it's a car I can't afford to fix if I did something to it, and I'm a pretty paranoid person, and I'm just so confident just throwing it into corners. And the powertrain, McLaren has torque by gear, so every year you get more power. Sorry, boost by gear. So every year you get more power. There's no vacuum of speed. You don't even feel the shift. The transmission is just so good. And the 720 lacks a little bit in the noise department, but for me, that really doesn't affect the drama of the car. But the 750 makes up for that. I forgot, I can roll the window down, but you guys are on the window, but listen to this. You can't say that doesn't sound good. I'm gonna put the handling in sport. There's actually a huge difference between the modes in this car, a much bigger difference than you get in the 720, especially handling wise. So let me show you what a McLaren's made to do. Hear that bang? Going up the hill just now, so in case he turns around, I'll be a little careful. Not gonna go crazy. I think the speed limit here is 15, so we're gonna do 14 and a half. more confidence on these Pirelli. This car is unbelievable. I can't get this car's. There are things this car does that I just really, it makes you as a driver feel so much better than you really are. Porsche GT cars are amazing. I know the lap times they do. I get it. But we have a 901 Speedster which has Porsche GT3 suspension, and on that road, in order to push it hard, you're all over the place if you want to get the same speed as this car. It's something you're not going to feel comfortable doing on a public road, ever. In this car, I could have gone a lot harder than that and been a lot less scared, especially if there wasn't a cop there that may or may not be in front of us right now. But it's just, there's something, I get the 911's rear engine, so it's just a different weight distribution, but there's something about this chassis, the 720 and the 750, and I'm sure the 765, I don't have a lot of seat time behind the 765, but it's just so poised, and the power is ridiculous. That part we'll show you in a little bit. If this car didn't cost what it costs, when I could down the line buy one of these or a 720, I could drive this every day, and then I could set better lap times in this than pretty much any other car I've ever driven, actually, except for the Elva. But the Elva is just a crazy on crack version of this car. It's 2,500 pounds, 815 horsepower. It's kind of hard to beat that. But the dual nature of these cars is just insane. It's like right now we're just cruising around. I don't know of another car that'd be more comfortable doing this. And then I can't think of another car that's more comfortable doing what we were just doing. I will say one thing I missed from the 720 is the folding screen. I know some people think it was a gimmick, but I thought it was pretty cool. And on the track, I had it down the whole time, and honestly, it does give you a little bit more visibility. I do see this in my peripheral eye line. It's a little thing, and it's something obviously you can live without, but unfortunately McLaren said their supplier just doesn't make the screens anymore, so they obviously have a stockpile if something ever went wrong in the future with the 720. But for the 750, we get this, which is kind of a version of the Artura Elvo screen. I prefer the 720 screen. Some people disagree with me. One huge livability update is there used to be a stalk to your right where the windshield wiper is. There's a little button, press the lift. I actually like that button, it was perfect. Just like it's right where your right hand goes naturally to drive the car. But it's now a button right here on the left, and the lift I think takes 4 or 5 seconds now instead of, I don't know what it was on the 720, I think it was like 10. This is a fun little sequence of turns in a C8, like you really feel the inertia of the car moving. Here I'm doing slightly over the speed limit, and it feels like you're just going straight. It honestly, there are times where you just lose like the crazy factor fun in a turn, because this car is just so compliant, it just does what you ask it to. Whereas the C8 you might be sliding around a little bit, which is less impressive, but more fun. So last time I was on this part of this road, there's actually a cop right there, coincidentally. I'll insert here. Thankfully, nothing happened, but that was terrifying. So I'll try to get you guys a little pull in, I'll put it in track, but I'm not gonna do anything too stupid because that was scary. But let's slow it down. This is 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. Let's go into 1st. That was a bigger pull than I meant to do, I'm not gonna lie. This car is just so fast. Oh my god. But I like that little area because you can stop in case another car is coming there. There's also a lot of deer, so you kind of see what's happening. But, oh my god. The speedometer is in kilometers an hour, if you guys can see it, just so you know. It doesn't, those MPH letters there, those are just wrong. Since I was little, when I got passenger rides in cars, Carrera GT, Ford GT, whatever, 458 even felt fast when it first came out. You just get used to the speed, but now so many years, obviously it's a little faster than the 720, but so many years later, we have to dodge the same sand pile here. You're still not used to the speed. Even on the track, when you're doing it over and over and over again, you still feel that in your stomach. It's unbelievable how fast these cars are. And Ferrari caught up with the 296, but they caught up with a 3,600-pound electric steering hybrid car. You don't have the same feel in the car. I don't know, I'm not trying to piss anybody at Ferrari off. We have a 458 and we love it, even though it's currently for sale. Sorry guys, I can't help myself. This car is just so much fun. But that kind of turn, I wasn't pushing hard. I've done 78 miles an hour more here in this car, but in the Porsche at that speed, it's just not locked in. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but this car is just so easily quick for any human being to get into. And then when you get to a bad road, you guys probably feel it more than I do because you're on a window and it's moving a lot. I can see the camera moving. but the car rides so well. The Lotus does not ride half as well on this. The C8 doesn't ride as well on this. My mom's SUV doesn't ride well on this. It's that this suspension is amazing, and what it gives you, the accumulators on this has 765 metal accumulators. The Elva and the Senna have carbon. They last a lot longer than the 720 plastic ones. So hopefully these will outlast the 720s, which actually we did pretty good. We got 5 years. I believe most people got like 3 or 4, but we got to replace ours now, and it's a little money. But this car now comes with free service for 3 years. So everyone that's so unconfident in McLaren's putting their money where their mouth is and showing you that the cars can do serious mileage and be completely fine. There's people on the forums with 100,000 miles. These motors came out of a Nissan R390 race car from the 90s at Le Mans. These motors, the 720s never run as smoothly as after the track day we put it on. The cars are just animals. The powertrains are amazing. I know 12Cs, early 12Cs had transmission issues. I get that. P1 had battery issues. 650, little glitches still had to be thought out. Early 720s had some build quality issues. The 18s with the glass cracking, and some, I think the AC went out, but that's nothing. If you guys go on the Ferrari forums, look at the 296, there is a 250 post, I think 11-page 296 just shutting down the highway thread. This is an attack on the 296, but that's not public. I would have never known that if I didn't go to the Ferrari to bring the 458 in for service, and they were just broken bricked, they called them, 296 and SF90s there. But McLaren's got this terrible rap. It's really, really sad for the company because they don't have the financial stability Ferrari does. We're going to end the video here, honestly, because I run out of superlatives for these cars. They're just so good. And this car looks so good. I will say my biggest complaint with 750 is this paint match front splitter. You don't see it in green. This is actually why I did the car in green, to be completely honest with you. But it looks like Lightning McQueen. It looks like the car's going to start talking. I'm just not a fan of the paint match stuff. People have been doing it on the C8s since they made that an option, I believe 21 or 22. It's not my thing. If it's your thing, 750 over 720. But at double the money right now, the proposition until these start depreciating might be the 720. But let me know what you guys think. Is this the best overall supercar in the world? With my experience, I can say hands down, it is for me. Look how sick this car looks. Obviously I'm biased, but let me know what you guys think of the spec, and we'll see you next video.